Hi all, and welcome to another Watercolor Wednesday tutorial. Today I was feeling a bit moody, so I wanted to paint a moody painting. So we're going to be painting a road leading into a misty forest, and I'm going to insert the reference photo that I used to paint this particular painting. If you would like to use the reference instead of watching me paint, you can definitely do that. But the first thing you want to do is with your pencil sketch in a horizon line and then lightly sketch in the wavy road that leads to the horizon. Then you want to fill in that top portion with a very, very light gray color. This is just so that you're not working with a plain white background, but you have sort of a cloudy, misty background to work with. And then you're just going to start painting a lot of pine trees. And the first layer that we're painting on here is supposed to be the background layer, so it's supposed to be really far away from the viewer. So you want to make sure you're painting these trees very lightly and not a lot of detail. You can even add quite a bit of water to wash them out a bit so that it looks like they're surrounded by mist, but you're basically just going to do this in the background portion. You also want to fill in your road with black watercolor. Don't worry about making that road perfect with the first layer, because we are going to be adding more layers later on to make it look like the road is wet and to sort of reflect some of the trees' shadows onto the road. But yeah, you're just going to continue with that same process that I mentioned earlier, painting a crap ton of trees, just trees everywhere, and you can begin to make some of them a little bit darker than the others, and as you make them darker you want to make them longer, stretching, below the horizon line up to the very top. This obviously makes it look like the trees are closer to the viewer, the darker they are and the longer they are, so just keep that in mind when you're painting your trees. By the way, this video, in some sections, I've even sped it up like 8 times faster than regular time. I know in my previous tutorials I tend to keep it at about twice as fast as real-time painting, but because this one was quite repetitive, I mean, you're just painting a bunch of trees, and I don't know how long that would keep people entertained for, which is why I sped it up quite a bit. But I was thinking of perhaps releasing the real-time versions of my paintings on my Patreon account. I do have a Patreon account, I just haven't really had the time to put anything on it yet, but I have had a lot of requests for real-time tutorials, and some of the tutorials are 30 minutes, an hour, even like 2 hours long, and I know that would help a lot of people, and a lot of people would enjoy having a real-time, paint with me sort of style video rather than sped up and really basic instructions on how to paint things. I'm basically asking here because these tutorials take up a lot of my time. I paint 2 every single week, and it takes a lot of time to not only paint them and deal with all of the technological things that come along with that, and then edit the videos and upload them and research SEO for the videos. Doing that for 2 videos every single week takes up a lot of my time, and because I had this goal to upload 2 videos every single week, I have found that I am saying no to a lot of things that I really would enjoy doing in my days and my weeks, because I physically just don't have any time. I work 2 jobs, and then doing this on top of that, I have to somewhere the time has to give, right? I can't just keep doing everything endlessly. I have to say no to something so that I have time to do others, and I don't know how long that will be sustainable for. So I'm trying to figure out how I can start making some sort of an income off of my art so that I can stop working at some of my other jobs or work a little bit less at those jobs so that I can make some money off of my art and continue to provide you with quality art tutorials and content. And I thought that if I dedicated some time into my Patreon, perhaps I could start earning a little bit of income off of that. So I would really appreciate some feedback if that is something that you wouldn't mind supporting and paying for. You know, real-time tutorials, or I'm sure there are a bunch of other things that I could think of that I could put up there. If you have any suggestions, you know, write them in the comments, but just let me know if that's something that you would be interested in, something that you would find worth your money and your time to watch real-time tutorials and that sort of thing. It would really help me out if you could provide me with some feedback before I plop even more time into something. You know, it's always nice to know, have some sort of reassurance of how things will turn out. But anywhoosies, back to the tutorial here. As you can see, I've started adding a little bit of details to the road. So I took some white watercolor straight from a tube, and that's what I was using to add the highlights to the road, and I was sort of blending it into the black road, obviously. And I was just following the reference photo, and this is what the road looked like in the reference photo. It's probably because, you know, the darker part is closer to the tallest trees, so they were probably, you know, it was supposed to represent the shade of the trees, but it's up to you. The road is such a minuscule part of this painting. Really, the trees are what make it super dramatic and beautiful, so just focus your energy on the trees. Once you are happy with how your road looks in terms of, you know, the bottom layer, you're going to want to add those white lines that we see on roads, and this just makes the road look a little bit more realistic. So I've added 2 white lines on either side of the road, as well as a yellow line in the center of the road. And here I was using acrylic paint because it's just more opaque and easier to work with. So you can definitely do the same or use ink if that's what you have on hand, but I just use dollar store quality acrylic paint for the accents, so you don't need anything fancy to make your paintings pop. Here I'm using, I was kind of alternating between using my size 14, I think, Grumbacher brush and my size 1 Grumbacher brush. Wow. And I basically kind of stuck with using the larger brush for the bulk of the trees because it's just way faster. You could definitely use the smaller brush if you want more detailed work, but I'm painting so many trees in this painting that it would just take me way too long, even longer than it's already taking me to paint all of the trees. And finally, once you are happy with kind of that base painting, you can add and experiment with some extra branches in the foreground. So I was really contemplating whether I should even add these branches because you know, it had the potential to ruin the entire painting. But I decided, you know what, just go for it. What is life without a little bit of risk? So I added a bunch of branches in the foreground of the painting, and I really think that it came together. So you can definitely try doing the same thing, or you can leave your painting as it was before we added the tree branches in the foreground of the painting. Also, I would really appreciate if you liked this video, if you are enjoying it. It helps me grow my channel, gives me more exposure, so it only takes you a second, but if many people do it, it really does help me grow my channel. Once you are happy with your painting, just peel off the tape from the borders if you put that on in the beginning, and you're all finished. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment below and tell me what you think about my Patreon idea. And I will see you in next week's video.